Mr. Smith, I think I'd like to start with you because I thought your point about like what exactly is the race, right? You know, we keep talking about the race, and you framed it in a particular way, saying that it's about adoption in the rest of the world, the 78%. I guess I just wanted to ask you to tease that out some more in terms of understanding what role we could play in Congress, in government, in terms of trying to accelerate and champion that AI adoption internationally.
I think there's two things. The first is it just shines light on the importance of getting it right for export controls, which is the AI diffusion rule that's being discussed right now. And I think what it shows is we want to have, I believe, as a country, the kinds of national security controls that ensure that, say, chips don't get diverted to China or get accessed by the wrong users, say, in China for the wrong reasons. And that is something that people have drafted at the same in the Department of Commerce. At the same time, we need, I believe, to say, get rid of the quantitative caps that were created for all of these tier 2 countries, because what they did was send a message to 120 nations that they couldn't necessarily count on us to provide the AI they want and need. And just think about it. I mean, if this is a critical part of your country's infrastructure, how can you make a bet on suppliers if you're not confident that they'll be able to fulfill your needs? So I think you in Congress and the Senate can help the White House and the Department of Commerce get this right.
Mr. Altman, I wanted your thoughts on this. Is that the right framing of the race? Is it about the adoption internationally in terms of other countries? I guess I'm trying to think through it. Like part of what you just said in your previous response was that we want other nations to be able to build upon the U.S. AI stack. Is that the right framework? Is that what we're thinking about? Or is it more about the consumer? Is it more about getting the rest of the world and the 78% of the population to adopt AI applications that are U.S., or is it interrelated?
I think it's heavily interrelated. To me, the stack is, from the chips at the bottom to the applications on the top, and we want the whole world on the U.S. stack. We want them to use U.S. chips. We want them to use services like ChatGPT.
But does having other nations building on the infrastructure component of the stack, does that more or less then guarantee or at least have a high likelihood that then the consumers in that country will be using our products and applications? Is that the sort of theory of the case?
It probably does make it marginally more likely, but I also think if someone's using a stack that we don't trust to train models, like who knows what it's going to do, who knows what sort of backdoors would be possible, who knows what sort of data corruption issues could be possible. I think the AI stack is increasingly going to be a jointly designed system from the chip all the way up to the end consumer product, and lots of stuff in between. I think separating that won't work that well in practice, and we shouldn't want to. Like again, I think this is a very critical point, that the leverage and the power the U.S. gets from having iPhones be the mobile device people most want, and Google being the search engine that people most want around the world is huge. We talk maybe less about how much people want to use chips and other infrastructure developed here, but I think it's no less important, and we should aim to have the entire U.S. stack be adopted by as much of the world as possible.
Yeah, I mean, when we are looking at, you're talking about our investment into models and building of that nature, how are we doing in terms of development of the applications, the AI tools and applications, though, that are trying to embed in people's lives? Not necessarily just the overarching models, but do you feel like we're putting the level of intensity that we need to in terms of that type of development?
ChatGPT is the most adopted AI service in the world, not just in the United States, but in the world by a quite significant margin. We're very proud that people like it, and we need to keep pushing on that. I think it's important for all the reasons you just discussed. There are many other U.S. companies building incredible products and services that are also getting globally adopted. This is what the U.S. does best.
Dr. Su, I want to just ask one last point to you. Over and over again, each of you is talking about talent as this incredible power, but also could be a bottleneck to us. How are we doing when it comes to the development of talent in this country? If you were to give us a grade, what would you grade us at in terms of our development right now?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Look, I think the smartest engineers are in the United States. We have a great base of talent, but what I will say is we need more. We need more hardware developers, software developers, application
How wide
developers.
is that delta? If we're talking about this as a race as you did, is that a space where we have a larger amount of delta, or is that a place where it's closing rapidly too?
Well, I think we do have a very talented, overall talent base, but we also have the desire to have the best, and that includes not only, U.S. nationals, but also having the best, international students.
Drawing the talent from
That's
the world.
right. I think high-skilled immigration is one of those areas where we want the best people in the world to be doing their work in the United States. And Senator, if I can just add something to your previous point about the cycle and what race we're trying to win. Technology is one of those things where you can have a very vicious positive cycle. So in other words, when we lead and more people adopt, that means more developers that make our technology better, that increases our lead. So that's what we want, is to have our leadership just increase over time.
Senator Schmidt.